Hi, everybody. This is Joseph Saracey with How to Tell Stories to Children. And I'm republishing our newsletter and podcast and a lot of the materials that went into the support of publishing How to Tell Stories to Children a few years ago. And as I do that, I'm going to be mixing in new material and ideas and tips too. And so I thought I'd start today with a story prompt. And it is July 5th. So we just had July 4th in the weekend, and folks celebrated however you may have done that. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of just tell half of a story, because my intention always is actually to sort of pass on skills to parents, adults, teachers, caregivers, grandparents, all the folks who are working with children in whatever capacity that you are. And so I invite you to take this story in whatever direction you wish. You can also modify it. You can use the essential idea and then craft it on your own. You don't even have to use this video or this prompt. The storytelling loop is a fairly simple way to kind of dive into a story. And what we're going to do is we start with something real. And that can be an object or an experience. It can be a feeling. It can be all kinds of things. In this case, it's just going to be July 4th, and like fireworks. The fact that at least many of us experience fireworks, or at least we think of fireworks, is sort of a lead into the story. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that. We're going to take it into a story that we're telling. And then ideally, if we've done that with our kids, we're going to see how that leads to like a new reality or a new engagement with that very real thing. So I am just going to go ahead and dive right in. So this is a story about a child and a family, and they live near a shoreline. And so when July 4th came around, the way the town did it there, where they held fireworks, they would often put the fireworks on over the lake, over the water, and people would come and they would sit on the beach. And it was a nice way, because then as they fizzled out, they just fell into the water. And also the water would reflect those beautiful lights. And so people loved it. And the town had been doing that for many, many, many years. And so people, in the evening, some people would go there. They'd be having picnics on the beach as the sun was setting. And some people are arriving just late, honking the cars. There's too many people. There's no place to park. We don't know where to go. Let the kids out here and we'll come back around. I'll meet you, all that kind of stuff. And people are coming and they're putting their their blankets, I believe they're called blankets, onto the sand. And they're sitting down and they're getting ready. And slowly the sun was setting, not just setting, but you know how that dusk period, you get that orange glow in the sky, and little bits of pink, and the water reflects it. So this one little boy was actually staring into the horizon and could see that sort of creamy orange sunset mixing with that sort of beautiful aquamarine blue of the water, and where they met right at that horizon level, that curious little blend of color. And so he was watching that, getting a little bit mesmerized by that color, and hearing all the still some honking horns. It's getting later, and then at one point his mother, who was sitting on the blanket there, and she was reaching inside her picnic basket, and she had brought a couple sodas and things to drink, and there was that sound that it makes, when you take the top, and it went tsh, and it that sound just kind of took the boy out of his sort of trance of looking out at the sunset, and he looked over at his mother, and she handed him, it was a lime soda for some reason. We don't even know why. He likes lime soda, I guess. And he held that bottle. It was a glass bottle. It was cold, and he could feel the, that it was a hot summer night. You could feel that, the almost like the dew, that wet, cold feeling on the glass bottle, but it was really pleasant. And he took a sip. And as he took a sip, he leaned his head back, and when he did, he looked up, and boom, there was a star. It was the first star that had come out because it was now getting dark enough. And as he saw it, he pointed, and his mother looked, and his father looked, and a few other people. There were other kids and families and people nearby, and they looked and they saw a star. And then there was another kid, a little girl, a few blankets and whatnot done, and she was like, "There's another one!" And everybody looked over there, and there was another one. And then somebody looked behind them, and there was one over there too. And there was a little bit of a crescent moon as well. And all of a sudden, everybody realized, ooh, it's getting dark. So there's that sense of anticipation. When are the fireworks going to start? And so they're sitting there, and the boy's drinking his lime soda. And they're waiting, and he set it down in the sand. Now, whoa, that's a dangerous move right there. I don't know if you've ever had a cold beverage with all that wetness on the outside. You just set that right in the sand. Well, what's going to happen? The sand sticks to it. This boy was like 7, 8 years old. Okay, so he picks it back up. Well, what's he got now? Now he's got sand on the bottle. He's got sand on his hands. It's getting, he's trying to wipe it off. It's in the, geez, there's a little bit too much sand in here. And the sand, it sticks to the outside, and it's on his hands. And so it's getting dangerously near the mouth of the bottle. And he takes a sip. Now, have you ever had a little bit of sand in your mouth? Pretty much nobody likes that. Nobody likes sand in the mouth. But he's sitting there kind of going, a little bit of that. And trying to figure out what to do about that sand. When, like, whoa, grabbed his attention, and he looked up, and what a beautiful red burst of firework. And he realized that the fireworks were starting. Now, this was a time they did not play music. What? Who doesn't play music at July 4th? That's like, how can you do that? But that's how it was. There was no music there. It was just the fireworks. So there was another one. This one kind of like bright gold. And then it had those, the ones, and it starts going, I mean, I don't know why anybody likes this, but it's like, pop, 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 and some of the people are like, I don't like that, but some of the kids are like, oh, yeah, and it's really exciting, and everybody's kind of like getting amped up, and there's a dog running around because the dogs don't like it so much, and the people are like, hey, it's okay, and like other people are like, watch out for the dogs, they don't like that, and it's starting to get, and more fireworks. And the child, the little boy, was really enjoying it. At this point, he didn't care that his lime soda had sand in it. It was fine. And he was sitting there watching it as everybody else. And just what you could hear beyond a little bit, it'd be like... That was the sound of there's these gentle waves rolling in and off that shore that you could hear in between the fireworks. And all the kids and the families talking and bickering and all the kind of things that they do. And was watching, and then this one came up. It was pretty neat. It was like green, and then it was gold, and the way they overlapped, it made this like greenish gold, and it fizzled down over the water there, and so you could see it doing this, but you could also see it doing this because of the reflection and meeting at that horizon line like that. And he was once again kind of mesmerized, and he was just staring, just like that, just staring. And then he was listening, but he didn't hear anything. You know, like where's the rest of the fireworks? What's going on? And it kind of got quiet. It got really quiet. So he was looking at his mom, like, where are the fireworks done? Was that the finale, or what's going on? And he wasn't really sure. And everybody started looking around, and like there's another, one of the child, hey, what's happening? Hey, just pipe down. It'll be just a minute, and blah. Yeah, people are talking, and everybody's like, what is going on? Now, it had gotten pretty dark at that point, okay? And so, you couldn't see all that well. And this child was really interested in, I've got a visitor. Thank you. And this child was interested in what was going on, and he stood up and he started walking toward where the firework display had been coming from. And as he was walking through the blankets, it was dark, and he heard some people kind of like a little bit shouting and at each other. Hey, get there! I'm not sure. Maybe if we push up. And he went and looked around at what was going, and he could see all the fireworks kind of like set up. They would look like little rockets, and they had that little string or the fuse that comes out of the bottom. And he was watching what they were doing. And here, now this town, this was a weird, funny secret. This town had for hundreds of years, it was a tradition that they had, but you didn't know it unless you were on the firework crew. The way they always lit their fireworks is that they had this dragon, okay? They had this town dragon who would come out for July 4th, and he laid down. And the way he did, you don't ask me why, but he would actually lay down on his back like this. And his mouth would be kind of out like that. And what they would do is they had it was a friendly pig. It's a friendly pig. And the pig would jump off this table and land on the dragon's belly. And the fire would come out of the dragon's mouth, and it would light the firework fuses, the little string on it, and then it would sizzle and they would fly off. Now, you'd think that they would have found maybe a more efficient way to do it than that, but that's how they had been doing it for like hundreds of years. So like, why break tradition? If it's not broke, why fix it? It's working. So it was working, but what had happened is that the dragon's mouth had gotten a little parched. I don't know if you have ever breathed fire before. Normally, my mouth is full of wetness, right? Saliva, it's like spit, it's like, right? But when you are breathing fire so commonly, it tends to dry it out. It's getting a little bit of a dry mouth going. And as that happened, he was uncomfortable. He was like, excuse me, I feel like I got something stuck in my throat. And the boy's watching all this, and the pig is just sitting there kind of being like, I don't know, what do? We can't, should I just jump? Should I jump now? The dragon doesn't seem ready. And there were two guys there. They were setting up the fireworks. We're like, we don't know what to do. And like, what? Everybody's watching. We're confused. And the boy was watching all this and a little bit mystified. And then he remembered lime soda. Boom. Boom, in his hand. How about that? A little bit scratchy, still some sand on the outside. But he said, do you want a sip of my soda? And they all stopped. They weren't expecting somebody. And the dragon looked over like this and said, I would like a sip of lime soda. I would. And so the boy offered the bottle, and the dragon took that. And the dragon felt refreshed, felt good, was kind of enjoying that, and said, "Okay, I'm ready." And he laid back down on his back, and the pig got up on the table, and the boy and the dragon said, "Okay, you step back a little bit, because it's fire." And so the boy stepped back a little bit, and the dragon got up there, and or the pig, and the pig jumped off the table, landed on the dragon's belly, and the flame came out of his mouth, and it lit the fuse, and then it hit the rocket, and it shot it into the air, and the two guys who were there, like celebrated, and you could hear all the cheers from the people on the beach who were like, "Hey, it started, it's working again." And then they did it again, and the dragon and the rockets and all these colors and things. And as that happened, something really interesting happened, okay? Because the boy who was sitting there holding this cold lime soda, well, it's not that cold anymore, but watching it, as he's watching the fireworks, here's this beautiful thing that starts to happen. He sees the fireworks up in the sky, but they start taking on like images and pictures, like almost impossibly good. There was like a dragonfly, and then it kind of like flew across and into the lake. And then the next one went up, and it was a banana for some reason. And then the next one went up, and it was a banana slug this time. I don't know why it was a banana slug, but it was. And he was like, "That's a banana slug." And it did move through the sky, but it was really slowly. And then the next one went up, and it was kind of like a palm tree, and it had coconuts, and they were different colors. Like the tree trunk was kind of greenish brown, and then big, nice green fronds, and these little brown coconuts. And then the coconuts even kind of did this thing where they'd go wiggle, 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 and they'd fall off. There were all kinds of things. There was a spider, there was a dragon, it was a, what do you call those things? It was a firework dragon, not like the other dragon. There were all kinds of images and things. And the boy was kind of like amazed. And finally, like after a long time, it ended. Fireworks display, like they had finished, and they sent all the rockets and things up, and the boy was still standing there. And at that point, he heard his mother, who was calling out for him, "Chris, Chris," that was the boy's name. "Chris, where are you?" Because she was worried. All of a sudden, she realized the fireworks had ended. Chris wasn't there. She was concerned. It's a big beach full of people and stuff. "Chris," and Chris kind of wakes up, and he's like, "Oh, right." And he turns over, and he looks at his mom. And she said, "Where did you go?" And the boy said, "Oh, well, I came over here to look at the firework display." And at that time, he turned back and he looked at the dragon, but there wasn't a dragon there. And his mother was like, "What are you talking about?" And there were two guys, they were in like kind of crew, and they were, they're cleaning up after the fireworks and stuff. And he was like, "Well, no, there was a pig. There was a pig, and there was a wait, did you see the dragonfly? Did you see the dragon?" And his mom was like, "What are you talking about, Chris? What's going on?" And Chris was like, "No, I swear I saw these things." And the two guys in the crew looked him right in the eye like this, and they looked his mother in the eye too, and they said, they looked at the mother, and they said, your son's going to be on the firework crew." And she said, "Well, what do you mean? How do you know? He's too young." And they said, "Oh yeah, he's too young. He's not really ready yet, but he sees things." And she said, "Well, what do you mean? Of course he sees things. We all see things." And they said, "No, when he sees the fireworks, he sees them in all kinds of pictures. He sees the cherries, he sees the swing sets, he sees the trees, and he sees the birds flying through the air." And his mother's like, "I don't know what you're seeing, because they're nice and all, but they ain't like birds flying through the air." But the boy, he did know, and he looked at the other, the men, and he thought, when I get older, I'm going to be on that firework crew, and I'll be able to help set off those fireworks, and they're going to make all kinds of pictures. And so here is where I'm going to disengage from the story and invite you to look for ways that you might finish it. We brought it a good little ways. But that little boy and the mother, and maybe you with a child somewhere in your life, can tell that story. And what I'd like you to do is what happens when that little boy goes home with his mom? What does he see when he looks out those windows? Because he might see fireworks and he might see all kinds of shapes and things. And somehow that little boy, Chris, he's got a special gift that he's going to carry with him into his life where those fireworks sometimes represent all kinds of beautiful images to him. I wonder where you can take that story for yourself. Good luck. This is Joseph Saracey with How to Tell Stories to Children. Good luck with storytelling in your own life.